The emergency signal screamed across every communication channel in the galaxy. It was a sound that no one had heard in 3,000 years. The Galactic Emergency Network was active. Its message made the blood of every species run cold. Admiral Yuki Tanaka of Earth's Third Fleet stood in the Grand Hall of Nexus Station. She had come here for a simple diplomatic meeting. Representatives from 12 different alien species filled the room. They had been discussing trade agreements just moments ago. Now they all stared at the massive holographic display in the center of the hall. The face of a Valorian appeared on the screen. His blue skin was covered in dust and blood. His 4 eyes were wide with terror. Behind him, buildings burned and people screamed. "This is High Minister Vorath of Valoria Prime," the alien said. His voice shook with fear. "The Virax have returned. I repeat, the Virax have returned. They came from deep space with thousands of ships. They are destroying everything. We need help. Please, someone help us." Transmission cut to static. Silence filled the Great Hall. Admiral Tanaka looked around at the alien representatives. She had only been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years. Humanity was still new to this community of stars. But she knew enough to understand what this message meant. The Virax were an ancient enemy. They had disappeared 10,000 years ago. Every species believed they were extinct. Clearly, they had been wrong. "We must respond immediately," Tanaka said. She stepped forward and addressed the council. "The Valorians are founding members of this alliance. We cannot abandon them." The Crethany ambassador, a tall creature with silver scales, shook his head slowly. "Admiral, you do not understand. Our people signed a non-aggression treaty with the Virax long ago. We cannot break that agreement." "A treaty?" Tanaka could not believe what she was hearing. "They are slaughtering innocent people right now. Your treaty means nothing to them." The Malari representative spoke next. He was a round being with soft purple skin. "Our fleet is currently under maintenance. We simply cannot spare any ships at this time." "Under maintenance," Tanaka repeated. "All of your ships? At the same time?" The Malari looked away and did not answer. One by one, every species in the room made their excuses. The Sindari claimed that military intervention would only escalate the conflict. The Torvani said their ships were too far away. The Nithori argued that the Virax would eventually leave on their own. Admiral Tanaka watched this happen with growing anger and disbelief. These species had been allies for thousands of years. They had built an entire civilization together. And now, when one of their own needed help, they turned their backs. "So that is your answer?" she said quietly. "You will do nothing." "Admiral," the Crethany ambassador said, "you are young to this galaxy. You do not know what the Virax are capable of. They cannot be defeated. Fighting them means death. Doing nothing means the Valorians die alone." Tanaka turned away from the council. She activated her communication device. "This is Admiral Tanaka to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. I need to speak with the Fleet Admiral immediately." The response came within seconds. Fleet Admiral James Morrison appeared on her personal display. His face was serious. He had clearly already seen the emergency broadcast. "Admiral Tanaka," he said, "I assume you have a request?" "Sir, the Galactic Council has refused to respond to the Valorian distress call. Every species has declined to send aid. I am requesting permission to take the Third Fleet to Valoria Prime." "You understand what you're asking," Morrison said. "Intelligence suggests the Virax force numbers in the thousands. You have 200 ships, I understand, sir." "And you still want to go?" Tanaka looked back at the alien representatives. They were watching her with confusion and fear. They did not understand why she would even consider such a thing. "Sir," she said, 50 years ago, humanity joined the Galactic Council. We promised to be good partners. We promised to stand with our allies. If we abandon the Valorians now, what was the point of any of it? What kind of species would we be?" There was a long pause. Then Fleet Admiral Morrison smiled slightly. "Admiral Tanaka, you have full authorization." "Earth's position is clear. We do not abandon those in need. Bring those people home." "Yes, sir." "Thank you, sir." ended the communication and turned to face the council one final time. "Humanity will answer the call," she announced. "We will go to Valoria Prime. We will help the survivors. And we will show the Virax that not everyone in this galaxy is a coward." The Crethany ambassador stepped forward. "Admiral, this is madness. You will be destroyed. Your entire fleet will be lost." "Maybe," Tanaka said, "but at least we will have tried. At least we will have done what was right. Can any of you say the same?" No one answered. Admiral Tanaka walked out of the Great Hall. Her officers fell into step behind her. Within the hour, her entire fleet was ready. 200 ships. 15,000 crew members. All of them volunteers who knew exactly what they were flying into. As the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Tanaka addressed her people one final time. "I will not pretend this will be easy," she said. "The enemy is strong. They are many. But we are fighting for something they will never understand. We are fighting for the simple belief that people matter, that innocent lives are worth protecting, that doing nothing is not an option when others suffer." She paused and looked at the stars. "Today we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Today we answer the call." The Third Fleet jumped to hyperspace. 200 points of light stretched into infinity and then vanished, back on Nexus Station. The alien representatives watched them go. Some felt shame. Others felt confusion. A few felt something they had not experienced in a very long time. Something that felt almost like hope. Hours later, as the fleet traveled through the void between stars, the communication officer approached Admiral Tanaka with a pale face. "Admiral," she said, "we have intercepted Virax communications. We have a clearer picture of their forces now. How many ships?" The officer swallowed hard. "Initial estimates were wrong, Admiral. The Virax do not have 1,000 ships. Then how many?" 2,000, Admiral. "Maybe more." Tanaka closed her eyes for a moment. 200 against 2,000. 10-to-1 odds. Most commanders would turn back. Most species would consider it suicide. But Yuki Tanaka was human. And humans did not abandon those who needed them. "Maintain course," she ordered. "We will find a way." The fleet flew on toward Valoria Prime, toward the fire and the darkness, toward an enemy that had terrified the galaxy for 10,000 years. And somewhere in that burning world, 3 million Valorians were about to learn that they were not alone. The Third Fleet dropped out of hyperspace, and Admiral Yuki Tanaka saw hell. Valoria Prime had been a beautiful world. The reports said it had vast purple forests, crystal-clear oceans, and cities that touched the clouds. Now it burned. Great pillars of smoke rose from the surface. Debris floated in orbit. The remains of Valorian defense ships drifted like broken toys in the darkness, and beyond it all, the Virax Armada waited. 2,000 ships hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. Each one was black and angular, built for destruction. They moved together with perfect coordination. When they turned toward the human fleet, they moved as one. "Contact," the tactical officer said. "The Virax are scanning us." "Let them look," Tanaka replied. "Open a channel. All frequencies." A moment later, a face appeared on the main screen. It was the face of a Virax. Admiral Tanaka had never seen one before. No living being in the council had. The creature had gray skin stretched tight over a skull-like head. Its eyes were completely black. When it spoke, its voice was cold and empty. "Curious," the Virax said. "A species we do not recognize. You are not in our records. Identify yourselves before we add you to our harvest." "This is Admiral Yuki Tanaka of the Earth Defense Fleet," she replied calmly. "We represent the human species. We are here to respond to the Valorian distress call, humans." The Virax tilted its head like a predator examining prey. "You have traveled far to die. I am Overseer Kethrick. I command this harvest fleet. You have one opportunity to withdraw. Take it. I have a counteroffer," Tanaka said. "You will cease your attack on Valoria Prime. You will release all prisoners. And you will withdraw from this system immediately. Kethrock made a sound that might have been laughter. You have 200 ships? I have 2,000. Your mathematics are poor, human. Then let me teach you something about humans, Tanaka said. We are not very good at mathematics, but we are excellent at refusing to quit. She ended the transmission. All ships, execute pattern Sigma, she commanded. We are not here to defeat them in direct combat. We are here to save lives. Focus on the mission. The human fleet did something no Virax computer could have predicted. Instead of forming a battle line, the 200 ships scattered. They broke into groups of 5 and 10. They spread across the entire battlefield like seeds in the wind. The Virax hesitated. Their tactical systems were designed for conventional warfare. Enemies formed lines. Enemies attacked in formations. Enemies did not dissolve into chaos, but this was not chaos. This was human strategy. Small human squadrons darted toward Virax supply ships. They attacked communication relays. They cut sensor lines. They hit targets and vanished before the larger Virax warships could respond. Meanwhile, the main human ships pushed toward Valoria Prime itself. Their mission was simple. Get to the surface. Find survivors. Bring them home. Commander David Chen led the ground operation. His shuttle burned through the atmosphere while enemy fire exploded around them. He gripped his seat as the pilot performed impossible maneuvers to avoid destruction. 30 seconds to landing zone, the pilot shouted. Chen looked at his team. 20 soldiers. All of them volunteers. All of them scared. And all of them ready. Remember why we are here, he told them. There are people down there who think everyone has forgotten them. We are going to prove them wrong. The shuttle hit the ground hard. The doors opened, and Chen led his team into a city that was no longer a city. Buildings had collapsed. Fires burned everywhere. The air was thick with smoke and ash dot, and there were bodies. So many bodies. Chen pushed the horror aside. He had a job to do. Spread out, he ordered. Search for survivors. Check every building, every shelter, every hiding place. No one gets left behind. They found the first survivors in a collapsed school. Valorian children huddled in a basement, protected by teachers who had given their lives to shield them. The children looked up at the human soldiers with their 4 terrified eyes. It is okay, Chen said softly. He did not know if they could understand him. We are here to help. We are going to take you somewhere safe. One small child reached out and touched Chun's hand. Her blue skin was covered in dust. Her body shook with fear. But when she looked at him, something changed in her eyes. Something like hope. Get them to the transports, Chen said. Keep searching. Above the planet, Admiral Tanaka watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. Her fleet was taking heavy losses. The Virax had adapted to their tactics. Ships were being destroyed one by one, but the evacuation transports were getting through. Thousands of Valorians were being pulled off the surface every hour. The plan was working, Admiral, her communications officer said. We are receiving responses from the surface. The Valorians are receiving our signals. They know we are here. Good broadcast on all frequencies. Music, messages, anything that gives them hope. Let them know they are not forgotten. Across Valoria Prime, Valorians hiding in ruins heard something impossible. Through the static and the explosions, they heard music. Human music. Songs of hope and courage. And they heard voices telling them to hold on, telling them that help had arrived. Many of them had already accepted death. They had watched their allies abandon them. They had seen their world burn. They had given up. Now, strangers from a species they had never met were dying to save them. In the capital city, Commander Chen's team found a massive underground shelter. Inside were 500,000 Valorians. Men, women, children, elderly. Far more than their transports could carry in one trip. Chen looked at his soldiers. He looked at the scared faces of the people they had come to save. He made his decision. Contact the Admiral, he said. Tell her we have a situation. We are going to need more time, Commander. The Virax ground forces are closing in. We have maybe 6 hours before they reach this position, Then we hold for 6 hours, or longer, however long it takes. One of his soldiers stepped forward. Sir, that is a lot of enemy troops. We are only 20 people. Chen smiled slightly. Then I guess we will have to be enough. He turned to the Valorians. I need you to stay calm. I need you to help each other. We are going to get you out of here. All of you. I promise. Above the planet, Tanaka received the message. 500,000 survivors. 6 hours to evacuate. And a second Varrox fleet approaching from deep space. How long? Until the second fleet arrives. She asked, 12 hours, Admiral? 12 hours to save 500,000 lives? 30 ships already destroyed. Supplies running low? Crew exhausted, she looked at the burning world below. Somewhere down there, David Chen and 20 soldiers were preparing to hold off an army. All ships, she said. Maximum evacuation speed. We are not leaving until every transport is full. The battle for Valoria Prime continued. Human ships fell. Human soldiers died. But not a single one of them retreated, and somewhere in the darkness of space. Overseer Kethrek watched with growing confusion. He had conquered 100 worlds. He had never seen anything like this. These humans were losing. Why would they not run? He did not understand, but he was beginning to fear that he should. The bridge of the ESS Endeavor shook as another explosion hit the hull. Admiral Yuki Tanaka grabbed the command console to steady herself. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Her ship was dying around her. Damage report, she ordered. Hull breach on decks 7 and 8. Weapon systems at 40%. Shields failing. Tanaka nodded slowly. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate focus. They were exhausted. They had been fighting for 16 hours straight. Many of them had not slept in over a day. She made a decision. All hands, this is the Admiral. Her voice went out to every speaker on every ship in what remained of her fleet. I need to be honest with you. The second Varax fleet will arrive in less than 12 hours. We have lost 30 ships. Our supplies are running low, and there are still over 1 million people on that planet waiting for rescue. She paused. On the surface below, Commander Chen and his team were holding a shelter with 500,000 civilians. Transports were working as fast as they could, but it was not fast enough. I will not order anyone to stay, Tanaka continued. This is beyond what anyone should ask. But I am asking anyway. I am asking you to stay. I am asking you to fight. Not for glory, not for victory, but for the people down there who have no one else. She looked at the stars through the damaged viewport. Anyone who wants to leave may do so. No shame, no judgment. But I am staying, and I am going to save as many lives as I can before the end. She waited for responses. She expected some ships to withdraw. She would not blame them. The first response came from the S Resolute. Third Fleet stays together, Admiral. We are not going anywhere. Then another ship. Then another. Within 5 minutes, every remaining vessel had reported in. Not a single crew member requested transfer. Not one ship turned away. 170 ships. 12,000 people. All of them choosing to stay. Tanaka felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them away. Thank you, she said quietly. All ships resume evacuation operations. Let us show them what we are made of. Okay. On the surface of Valoria Prime, Commander David Chen had not slept in 20 hours. His uniform was torn and dirty. A bandage covered a wound on his arm. But he stood at the entrance to the underground shelter like a wall that would not break. Report, he said to his sergeant. Rock's ground forces are 2 kilometers out. Maybe 300 troops? They will reach us in about an hour. Chen looked at his team. 20 soldiers when they started? Now only 15 remained. 5 had died holding the perimeter, while transports loaded civilians. How many people still need evacuation? About 200,000, sir. 200,000 lives. 1 hour. 15 soldiers? The mathematics were impossible. Chen knew this. His team knew this. But none of them suggested retreat. A young private named Torres approached him. She was barely 20 years old. Her hand shook slightly, but her voice was steady. "Sir, I just want you to know. I am glad I came. No matter what happens." Chen put his hand on her shoulder. "We all are, Private. We all are." He turned to address his entire team. "Listen to me. What we are doing here matters. Every minute we hold this line, more people escape. Every second we buy gives a child a chance to grow up. We are not just soldiers today. We are the only thing standing between those people and death." He pointed toward the shelter entrance. "And there are families. Parents who love their children. Children who deserve to see tomorrow. We cannot save ourselves, but we can save them. And that is enough. That is more than enough." His soldiers stood straighter. Fear remained in their eyes, but it was joined by something else. Purpose. "Now, let us get to work." Above the planet, Overseer Kethrak watched the battle with growing frustration. His forces outnumbered the humans 10-1. His ships were larger and more powerful. By every measure, he should have destroyed them hours ago, but the humans would not stop. They darted and weaved. They attacked from angles that made no tactical sense. They threw themselves between his weapons and the evacuation transports, with no regard for their own survival. It was maddening. It was impossible. It was against every rule of warfare he had ever known. "Bring me a prisoner," he commanded. "I want to understand these creatures." An hour later, a human pilot was dragged onto his command deck. She was small, with dark hair and blood on her face. Her ship had been destroyed, but she had survived. Her name was Lieutenant Maria Santos. Kethrak studied her. She was injured and alone, surrounded by enemies who could kill her in an instant. Yet she showed no fear. She stared back at him with defiance. "You are dying for nothing," Kethrak told her. "Your fleet is being destroyed. Your people are throwing away their lives for strangers. Explain this to me. What is wrong with your species?" Lieutenant Santos actually laughed. It was a small, tired sound, but it was definitely a laugh. "Wrong with us? Nothing is wrong with us. This is what we are. You are fools. You are wasting your lives on beings who are not even your own kind. The Valorians mean nothing to you. They mean everything to us." Santos met his black eyes without flinching. "You want to know what humans are made of? We are made of the people we protect. Every life we save becomes part of who we are. You cannot defeat that by killing us. You only make us more determined." Kethrak leaned closer. "You will die here. All of you. Your sacrifice will accomplish nothing. Maybe. But we will have tried. We will have done what was right. And those people down there will know that someone cared enough to come for them. Someone thought they were worth saving." She smiled despite the blood on her face. "Can you say the same, Overseer? When your species dies, will anyone mourn you? Will anyone remember you as anything other than destroyers?" Kethrak stared at her for a long moment. No prisoner had ever spoken to him this way. No conquered species had ever shown such defiance. "Execute her," he said. The guards moved forward. Santos did not look away. She did not beg. She simply waited. But Kethrak raised his hand. The guards stopped. He did not know why he hesitated. Her words meant nothing. Her philosophy was foolish. Sentiment had no place in the universe, and yet, "Put her in a cell," he said finally. "I will decide her fate later." Alone on his command deck, Kethrak stared at the battle below. The humans were down to 150 ships now. They were losing. They knew they were losing, but they kept fighting. A message arrived from the planet's surface. His ground forces had engaged the human soldiers defending the civilian shelter. 300 Varax troops against 15 humans. The report said the humans were holding impossible. All of it was impossible. In orbit. Admiral Tanaka received an update from Earth Command. The message was short and cold. Reinforcements impossible. Nearest support fleet is 3 weeks away. You are authorized to withdraw. Repeat, you are authorized to withdraw. Tanaka read the message twice. Then she sent her reply. Negative. Evacuation at 70%. We are not finished here. She ended the transmission and looked at her crew. You heard Earth Command? Anyone who wants to leave has permission. No one moved. Good. Let us get back to work. Somewhere in the burning city below, Commander Chen fired his weapon and watched another Verax soldier fall. His ammunition was running low. His team was exhausted. The enemy kept coming, but behind him, transport after transport lifted off, carrying Valorian families to safety. That was all that mattered. He was human. And humans did not give up, not ever, across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched their screens in silence. The battle for Valoria. Prime had been broadcasting for nearly 20 hours. News networks on every world carried the same images. Human ships burning in the darkness. Evacuation transports racing toward safety. Soldiers fighting against impossible odds. No one could look away. On the Crethany homeworld, young officers gathered in military academies. They watched Commander Chen and his 15 soldiers hold the shelter entrance against waves of Verax attackers. These young Crethany had been taught that survival came first. They had been told that the treaty with the Verax was necessary. Their elders had said that helping the Valorians would be suicide, but now they watched humans dying for strangers, and something inside them began to change. "This is wrong," a young Crethany commander named Sarith said. "We have the largest fleet in the Council. We could end this in hours." "The treaty forbids it," an older officer replied. "The treaty is cowardice." Sorith stood up. "I joined the military to protect people, not to hide while others do what we should be doing." Similar conversations happened across Crethany space. In military bases and training facilities, young officers began to question orders they had followed their entire lives. On the Malari homeworld, citizens filled the streets. Millions of purple-skinned beings marched toward their government buildings. They carried signs and shouted demands. Their fleet was not under maintenance. Everyone knew this. Their leaders had lied to avoid helping the Valorians. The Malari people had accepted many things from their government, but they could not accept this. "Open the shipyards," they chanted. "Send the fleet. We are not cowards." The Sindari had the oldest civilization in the Council. They had seen empires rise and fall. They believed in patience and caution above all else. But even among the Sindari, something was changing. Retired Admiral Kenthos had commanded ships for 300 years before stepping down. He had followed orders to stay out of the Valorian crisis. He had told himself it was the right decision. Now he watched Admiral Tanaka refuse to abandon her mission, even as her ships died around her. He watched human soldiers give their lives for people they had never met, and he felt shame. "Prepare my personal vessel," he told his servants. "I am going to Valoria Prime." "Admiral, you are retired. You have no authority to take military action." "Then I will go alone. But I will not sit here and do nothing while better beings than me are dying for what I should be fighting for."
Oh, the news spread.
A Sindari admiral was flying to Valoria Prime. He had no fleet. He had no weapons. But he was going anyway. Thousands of Sindari veterans heard this news. Many of them made the same choice. On Nexus Station, the Galactic Council watched the battle in their great hall. The same representatives who had refused to help now sat in uncomfortable silence. They had expected the humans to retreat. They had expected the Verax to win quickly and move on. Instead, they watched humanity refuse to surrender. They watched the evacuation reach 80%. They watched human soldiers hold a shelter for 20 hours against an army. The Crethany ambassador received a message from his homeworld. His face went pale as he read it. "What is it?" the Malari representative asked. "There has been a mutiny. Young officers have seized control of the 5th Battle Group. They are jumping to Valoria Prime. They will be executed for this. Perhaps." The Crethoni ambassador looked at the screen. Where human ships continued to die? Or perhaps they will be remembered as the ones who finally did what was right. On Valoria Prime, Commander Chen was down to 8 soldiers. They had held the shelter entrance for 22 hours. The evacuation was nearly complete. Only 30,000 civilians remained. Chen could barely stand. His ammunition was gone. He fought with a blade now, like his ancestors had centuries ago. His soldiers formed a wall of flesh and determination that the Verax could not break. Yes, sir. Sergeant Torres gasped. She had been shot twice but refused to fall. Transports are loading the last group now. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. They had to hold for 15 more minutes. Chen looked at his remaining soldiers. They were wounded and exhausted. They had given everything they had. One last push, he said. 15 minutes, and those people are free. We can do this. They formed their final line. 8 humans against the Verax army. In orbit, Admiral Tanaka's fleet was down to 50 ships. The Endeavor had lost half its systems. Her crew worked with desperate energy to keep the old vessel fighting. Admiral, her tactical officer, said, "The second Verax fleet is entering the system. We have maybe 2 hours before they reach weapons range." Tanaka nodded. She had known this moment would come. Evacuation status. 90% complete. We need 1 more hour to finish. 1 hour to evacuate. 2 hours before certain destruction, it would be close. Then Overseer Kethrak appeared on her screen again. His black eyes studied her with something new. Something that might have been respect. "Admiral Tanaka," he said, "you have fought well. Better than any species I have encountered. I offer you terms. Withdraw now, and I will let your remaining ships leave. You have proven your courage. There is no shame in retreat in the Valorians. Those who remain on the surface will be taken. That is not negotiable." Tanaka thought about her crew, thought about the ships she had lost, thought about the families back on Earth who would never see their loved ones again. Then she thought about the 30,000 Valorians still waiting for rescue, about Commander Chen and his soldiers, about the promise she had made. "No," she said simply. Kethrak blinked. "You understand what you are choosing. You will be destroyed. Then we will be destroyed. But we will not abandon those people. Not for anything. Why? They are nothing to you. Their lives cannot possibly be worth your entire fleet." "Every life is worth everything," Tanaka replied. "That is what you do not understand. That is what you will never understand." She ended the transmission. Her crew looked at her. They knew what she had just done. She had sentenced them all to death, and not one of them disagreed. Then the censor officer shouted, "Admiral, hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts emerging on our flank." Tanaka's heart stopped. The second fleet was early. They were out of time, but then the officer looked up with tears in her eyes. "Admiral, they are not Verax. They are Krithani. 20 ships. No, 30, 50. On the main screen, reality tore open as ship after ship appeared. Krithani, battle cruisers. Young officers who had mutinied against their own government, and behind them, more signatures. Malari vessels crewed by volunteers. Sindari veterans in their personal ships. Torvani merchants who had armed their freighters. Nathori science vessels converted for combat. Ships from a dozen species filled the space around Valoria Prime, hundreds of them. All answering the call that their governments had refused. The leader of the Krethani fleet appeared on screen. It was Sorith, the young commander who had started the mutiny. "Admiral Tanaka," she said, "we apologize for being late. We had some difficulties with our chain of command, but we are here now. And we are not leaving until every Valorian is safe." Tanaka could not speak. She simply nodded, tears streaming down her face. The combined fleet turned toward the Verax armada. For the first time, Overseer Kethrak's forces were outnumbered. "All ships," Tanaka commanded, her voice steady once more. "Push them back. Finish the evacuation. Today, we show the Verax what this galaxy is truly made of." The battle turned. On the surface, Commander Chen heard the news through his damaged radio. Help had arrived. The evacuation would be completed. The people he had sworn to protect would survive. He smiled through blood and exhaustion. Then he fell to his knees. The last transport lifted off behind him. 30,000 Valorians rose into the sky, safe at last. Chen watched them go. His soldiers gathered around him. They had done it. They had held as the galaxy celebrated. Overseer Kethrak watched from his command deck. His fleet was being pushed back, His invasion was failing. For the first time in his very long life, he faced defeat. But defeat was not what troubled him most. What troubled him is the question he could not stop asking himself. What kind of species would do this? What kind of beings would die for strangers? He looked at the human ships, at the Allied fleet that had appeared from nowhere, at the planet below where 8 wounded soldiers had held off an army, and he realized he needed to know the answer. "Open a channel," he commanded, to the human flagship. "I wish to negotiate, Overseer. We are winning." "No," Kethrak said quietly. "I wish to understand." He watched the humans fight and realized that the galaxy had changed. Something new had entered it. Something he had never encountered in 10,000 years of conquest, and for the first time in his existence. Overseer Kethrak felt something strange. He felt curious about what would happen next. The Verax shuttle landed in the damaged hangar bay of the ESS Endeavour. Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood waiting with a small honor guard. Her arm was in a sling. Bandages covered half her face, but she stood straight and proud. The shuttle doors opened, and Overseer Kethrak stepped out. He was taller than she had expected. His gray skin seemed to absorb the light around him. His black eyes reflected nothing. He moved with the careful precision of a predator, even now, even in defeat. But he had come alone. No weapons. No guards. Just himself and his questions. "Admiral Tanaka," he said. His voice was cold, but something underneath it had changed. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. You asked to talk? I am listening." Kethrak looked around the damaged hangar. Human crew members watched him with fear and anger. He had killed their friends. He had destroyed their ships. And yet they let him walk among them because their admiral had given her word. "I have conquered 112 worlds," Kethrak said. "I have destroyed civilizations that lasted longer than your species has existed. I have seen empires crumble and stars die. And in all that time, I have never encountered anything like what happened here." He turned to face her directly. "I came to ask you one question, Admiral." "Why?" Tanaka studied him for a long moment. She saw a being who had known nothing but conquest, who had lived by rules that made compassion a weakness and mercy a failure, who had watched her people die rather than abandon strangers. "Walk with me," she said. She led him through the corridors of the Endeavour. The ship was badly damaged. Walls were scorched. Systems flickered. Crew members worked frantically to keep everything running. They passed a medical bay. Inside, human soldiers and Valorian refugees lay side by side being treated by the same doctors. "Do you see this?" Tanaka asked. Humans and Valorians. Different species. Different worlds. Different everything. And yet our doctors treat them the same. Our people protect them the same. Because to us, life is life. Suffering is suffering. It does not matter where someone comes from. Kethrak watched a human nurse gently hold the hand of a Valorian child while a doctor treated her wounds. "This is weakness," he said. But his voice lacked conviction. "Caring for others makes you vulnerable. It makes us strong." Tanaka led him to an observation deck. Through the window, they could see the combined fleet-holding position around Valoria Prime. Human ships flew alongside Crethani and Malari and Sindari vessels. "Look at that fleet," she said. "Yesterday, those species refused to help. They were afraid. They followed the same logic you follow. Survival first. Self-interest above all. And what changed? We did. We showed them another way. We showed them that courage is contagious. That compassion creates allies. That doing the right thing, even when it costs everything, inspires others to do the same." She pointed at the planet below. 3.2 million Valorians were saved today. Not by Earth alone. By a galaxy that remembered what it means to care about each other. We did not defeat you with weapons, Overseer. We defeated you with an idea. Kethrak was silent for a long time. His black eyes stared at the fleet outside. "My species was not always this way," he said finally. "We had a homeworld once. Beautiful and green. But it died. Disease and disaster and our own foolishness destroyed it. We became wanderers, harvesters. We took from others because we had nothing of our own. He looked at Tanaka. We survived. But somewhere along the way, we forgot why survival mattered. We forgot that there was supposed to be something worth surviving for. It is not too late to remember, is it not? Kethrak made a sound that might have been a bitter laugh. I have killed millions. My people have destroyed countless worlds. The galaxy will never forgive us. Maybe not. But forgiveness is not the same as change. Tanaka reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. Before you came aboard, Lieutenant Santos asked me to give you this. Kethrak took the device. It was a simple data chip. He activated it, and a hologram appeared. It showed the Valorian children from the shelter. They were safe now, aboard a transport ship. They were drawing pictures. One little girl held up her artwork for the camera. She had drawn humans with wings. Angels, she called them in her language. Angels who came from the stars. She wanted you to see what you almost destroyed, Tanaka said, and what you could help protect if you chose a different path. Kethrak stared at the image. His hand trembled slightly. I spared your lieutenant's life, he said quietly. I do not know why. She spoke to me of what humans are made of. She said, you are made of the people you protect. She was right. I have never protected anyone. I have only destroyed, to close the hologram. What would it mean to protect something? What would it mean to be made of something other than conquest? Tanaka smiled slightly. That is a question only you can answer, Overseer. But asking it is the first step. The meeting lasted 3 more hours. When it ended, Kethrak returned to his fleet. He gave orders that shocked his own commanders. The Verax withdrew from Valoria Prime. They released all prisoners. They retreated into deep space, and they did not attack again. The Galactic Council held a ceremony 1 week later. Admiral Tanaka stood before representatives of every species. They awarded her medals and honors and titles she did not want. When they asked her to speak, she said only this: we did not come to Valoria Prime for glory. We did not fight for recognition. We came because people needed help, and we could provide it. That is all. That is everything. She paused and looked at the assembly. Remember this day. Not because of what humanity did, but because of what all of you did. You overcame your fear. You chose to help. You've proved that this galaxy can be more than a collection of species fighting for survival. It can be a community, a family, something worth protecting. She stepped back from the podium. Thank you. Now, let us get back to work. There are still people out there who need our help. Commander David Chin recovered from his wounds in a Valorian hospital. When he woke, he found his room filled with visitors. Valorian families came to thank him. Children brought him drawings. Parents wept and held his hands. One small blue girl sat by his bed every day. She was the same child who had touched his hand in the burning shelter. Her name was Kira. You stayed, she said to him one morning. Everyone else left, but you stayed. Psh, smiled at her. Of course we stayed. That is what you do for family. But we are not your family. We are different. Not to us. He gently touched her forehead. To us, you are exactly what family means. 1 year later, a Verax diplomatic vessel entered Earth's solar system. It was the first Verax ship to approach any world peacefully in 10,000 years. Aboard was Overseer Kethrak. He carried a small container with him. Admiral Tanaka met him at the landing platform. She was surprised to see him. More surprised to see what he carried? These are seeds, Kethrak explained. From the last forests of the Verax homeworld. We preserved them for millennia, hoping someday to plant them again. But we never found a place worthy of them. He handed her the container. I would like them planted here. On Earth, in a garden of remembrance. For those who died at Valoria Prime, human and Verax alike, Tanaka accepted the gift. She felt the weight of 10,000 years of history in her hands. Why here? She asked. Because you showed us something we had forgotten. You showed us that the universe does not have to be a place of endless war. That species can choose to help each other instead of destroy each other. That there is another way. Ketherick looked up at Earth's blue sky. Clouds drifted peacefully overhead. Birds sang in distant trees. "My people are beginning to change," he said. "It will take time, perhaps generations. But we are trying to remember what we lost. To become something other than destroyers." They looked at Tanaka. "You did this. You and your impossible, foolish, beautiful species. You answered a call that no one else would answer, and you changed everything." The garden was planted 1 month later. Varric's trees grew alongside human flowers and Valorian crystals and plants from a dozen other worlds. A monument stood at its center, listing the names of everyone who died in the Battle of Valoria Prime. People came from across the galaxy to visit. They stood before the monument and remembered, and in the center of the garden, a small plaque bore simple words that Admiral Tanaka had chosen herself. "They asked us why we came. This is our answer. Because someone needed help. Because we could. Because that is what it means to be human." The galaxy had changed. Not because of weapons or conquest, but because one species had dared to show everyone else what was possible. And among the stars, billions of beings looked at humanity with new eyes. Not as strange newcomers. Not as naive fools, but as the ones who reminded them all what they could be. The ones who answered the call.